Welcome to the latest Phil Spencer Home Owning Jargon Buster series. In this episode, I'm going to break down what it means to be tenants in common. Tenants in common is when two or more people have legal shared ownership of a property. That share doesn't have to be equal. So tenants in common is a form of ownership that gives two or more people the opportunity to buy a property together, but to own separate shares of it. How big a share each person has is agreed in advance. If no ownership breakdown is specified, it is assumed that the property owners have equal shares. In the event that one of the co-owners dies, then their share does not automatically transfer to another co-owner. It can be passed on to whoever they choose to inherit it. If you're considering buying a property with a friend or family member, then this is something you should be aware of. Each tenant can sell or transfer their share without needing to get consent from the other co-owners. And if they do, it doesn't affect the share of other co-owners. So how do the finances split? Well, co-owners are jointly liable for the mortgage, bills, and upkeep of the property, but it's in proportion to the share of the ownership. For example, if person number 1 owns 40% and person number 2 owns 60%, then person number 1 is only obliged to pay 40% of the mortgage, bills, and so on. You should get advice from a mortgage advisor early on, so they can help you get the best option for this particular arrangement. We've popped a link below that will connect you with a panel of experienced mortgage advisors who can work with you on this. As with anything of this nature, it's also vital that you get good legal advice from the outset to ensure the details are very clearly understood and agreed. For instance, if all co-owners decide to sell, then the proceeds are divided based on the shares each one owns. But what happens if one of the tenants in common wants to sell and the others don't? Well, the co-owners can agree to buy out the share of the owner who wishes to sell the property. But if the tenants in common can't agree, then the owner who wishes to sell can apply for a court order to force the sale. As you can see, tenants in common is quite a different arrangement to being joint tenants, which is what you would usually have if you buy a home with a partner or spouse. Joint tenants are registered at the same time on the deeds of the property, and so they are seen as one entity. This means the property immediately transfers to the other owner if one dies, and you're seen as equal owners regardless of who puts down what deposit. I hope this has given you a good insight into the different forms of property ownership. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and click that alert button because I have plenty more expert guides coming your way.